For episode number 6 of Lost and Found, we are talking about 2013's GI Joe Retaliation, the sequel to GI Joe Rise of Cobra that has the Joes on the run after Cobra attacks them, takes over the White House, and holds the world hostage with a new powerful device capable of destroying cities and everything globally.
Of course!
Pop Tot, this was my choice. What did you think about Retaliation?
As a child, I grew up with the 3.5-inch GI Joe figures. I was mid to late 80s. GI Joe was very much a big thing for me. So much so I put my Star Wars toys away to play with them.
GI Joe Battle Tank, batteries not included. GI Joe Dragonfly Copter and Attack Vehicle, each sold separately from Hasbro.
So I was always excited about GI Joe movies coming out. However, this movie, rewatching it again, is it's difficult. I actually thought about cursing you. It's a horrible movie. I'm sorry. I got it. Let me explain, okay? Cobra Commander is one of the best bad guys out there, and he had maybe 10 minutes of screen time.
He's barely in this movie.
15 if you count him floating in what looks like a Bacta tank.
Yeah.
Very cute.
There's so many just weird plot things, and I don't get it. Like Storm Shadow pretending to be Snake Eyes and to get caught and be put in the prison with Cobra Commander and Destro.
Storm Shadow.
So this has to do with Cobra satellites. They never explain how those satellites got into space.
No.
They're these massive satellites with these aluminum tungsten rods that can basically destroy a city, as we found out with poor London.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at an advanced weapons system we call Project Zeus. There are 7 Zeus satellites orbiting Earth.
There was a massive ninja scene, which wasn't too bad until they got outside and started doing these Cirque du Soleil wire acts. Yeah. And then as fast as Anakin turned to the dark side, Storm Shadow turned to the light side, became a good guy. This was a vehicle for The Rock. I don't think he was originally supposed to be in the movie. And so he became the forefront, and they killed off Channing Tatum's Duke really quick.
So the first one, Rise of Cobra, came out, basically pissed off all the hardcore fans, both of us included. You and I both love G.I. Joe. Your G.I. Joes became my G.I. Joes. I watched the cartoons that you watched and all the CGI ones that came after. We were super excited when they announced the Rise of Cobra, and it was basically a huge mess. It just didn't make sense. It was G.I. Joe kind of a name only. They screwed up a bunch of stuff. And so when they greenlit the sequel, they said, okay, we kind of got to reboot, re-sequel it. So a lot of the parts from the first one, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the Wayans brother that was miscast, they were all thrown out. Cobra Commander got a complete redesign. He went back to the old design. Snake Eyes went back to his old design.
No lips.
Yeah, no lips, because his original Snake Eyes suit had lips, which was stupid. And they brought on The Rock, who had been growing in popularity, and
Bust the cap!
There's some parts I truly enjoy about this movie, and there's some parts that are just so baffling. And I think maybe you can agree with me on this, but all the other movies we've done on Lost and Found, I feel like they were trying to be a good movie. They just sometimes failed or maybe missed the mark. I don't know that this was trying to be a good movie.
No.
I'm the quicker blower upper, baby.
It was definitely, and you can tell, this was definitely Hasbro controlling the narrative to sell toys.
Of course!
Most people understand that Hasbro is in a bad way right now, and they're putting all their chips in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, which they made a really good movie from it.
What madness is this?
However, this isn't one of those instances. This movie struggles to be anything but a commercial.
Yeah.
For toys.
I mean, from right off the get-go, the movie starts just not good. It basically has like 3 different starts. You have this where they're invading this compound that doesn't really show anything other than this new Flint character, who obviously Flint's part of the G.I. Joe, but he's new to this series of movies, is basically, he's gung-ho and doesn't follow command. Well, that was it.
Flint, get your asses back to the team. We are on the move.
You ain't gonna believe this, Roadblock.
He was such a lifeless character. He had like no personality or character at all.
I'm sorry.
And the Oscar goes to...
There's a lot of rumors and behind the scenes speculations that basically the movie came out, it was screened, and it had a lot of issues with people who saw the first one, and basically right off the bat, the scene that happened was the ambush, and
Right.
Channing Tatum's character was killed, and they just jumped from there, and a lot of people were like, well, we kind of like Channing Tatum's character, so they went back and had all these scenes with The Rock and Channing Tatum that when you're watching now with that knowledge, you'll be like, holy crap, this feels really just tacked on.
Bring you one care package thing. Who's shooting me? What? I'm bleeding out right there, and you...
Which is weird because I would have liked it better if Channing Tatum and Rock's character Roadblock were actually together in the movie, because they did have some good chemistry as friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You love my pennies. That's an interesting choice of a joke. Of all the things you could say.
There was just so many cringe-worthy scenes in here, and I'm going to list you two. One is when Cobra Commander is walking in his plant of they're making these satellites. A guy just walks up to him and said,
"You like this? Working title? High Speed Sentry." Yes.
You know, and it was like, oh God, why?
Yeah.
Why?
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
And then, of course, I really want this to be the emphasis, the driving role or the driving scene of why I dislike this movie is the last 30 seconds of this movie.
I can't really remember.
Why, Antonio?
Because I have amnesia.
They're all getting awards for saving the
Oh,
world, even
yeah.
though London had completely millions of people are dead. They're all getting these awards.
Yep.
And General Colton, played by the Bruce Willis, which is probably one of the better parts of this movie,
Yep.
is suddenly in uniform despite being in retirement, and he's handing out awards, and now he's the head of the GI Joe team again. And he's talking to Roadblock, even though Roadblock's he's a sergeant, he's not the head of the team, and he gives him Patton's pistol, which for some reason is upside down in its display case.
Yeah.
And Roadblock takes it out of his hand, and they say some shit back and forth to each other.
For when you find Cobra Commander.
And then on the White House lawn, with the president 10 feet away,
Yeah.
Roadblock points the pistol in the air and shoots it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, I love it too because Snake Eyes was like not dressed in uniform. He was just
yeah, because I was like, you know, even in the comic books when they were in dress uniform, Snake Eyes would always wear his uniform, but he'd be masked,
Right.
like from the neck up, because he's disfigured from a helicopter accident.
Oh my God! What's wrong with your face?
And these are covert operations
Right.
guys. They wouldn't be on the stage for the world to see.
No, yeah. And there's a lot of lines of dialogue that are said that I'm like, did anybody just think about like that line? Like,
In the immortal words of Jay-Z.
That was for the tax hike.
Like you pay taxes.
You know, in victory, we should be gentlemen.
I know somebody's going to be like, you know, this is a toy commercial or whatever. This is based on toys, and you can have your cake and eat it too. You can make a solid property that works and functions as a film while selling toys or merchandise. I mean, the Star Wars movies are proof of that. Used to be. It's just so confusing, some of the way the scenes are. And then, like you said, you got like Storm Shadow has this weird turn in the movie. Cobra Commander's not in it. Destro is a huge part of Cobra. He's not in it. The whole world is just okay with Cobra just being bad guys.
Oh yeah?
Right, so Cobra was the bad guy terrorist organization in the first movie, and yet this president, which is Zartan in disguise, he now has a Cobra unit that eliminated the Joes, and everybody in the international community is okay with that.
Yeah.
I do want to say that there are good parts. The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson, he's fun to watch. Bruce Willis, awesome. Ray Park as Snake Eyes, always
Perfect.
good.
Yep.
And then we have the beloved Ray Stevenson as Firefly.
Yeah.
Making most things go boom by 9 a.m. And most people do all day.
Now, Firefly was never that big and as staunch as Ray Stevenson is, but I didn't mind him in the role, and I think he was probably one of the better parts. And for some reason, the script writers and the movie runners wanted to make him almost like a central key figure in it besides Storm Shadow.
I like the cast is pretty solid. I'm not a big fan of Flint, but
Adrianne Palicki, you know, from
Orville,
thank you. You read my mind. She was actually up for the Wonder Woman role at the time, but the network destroyed it. But she really had her chops for being in an action role, and I think she did a decent job as Lady J. I can't complain about that one, but I'm gonna butcher his name. He's a rap star or something. RZA.
Yeah. Yeah,
he was the blind master. And that was another thing is Arishikage was suddenly like some really wealthy organization, and they had the high rise, and there was a lot of ADR when he was explaining what was going on. And
defend yourself.
I'm ready, Black Master.
And I was like, I don't get this at all.
Or die by the same sword you once used to kill our master. Your sword.
Another cast choice, what I always love is the guy from The Mummy, Arnold Vosloo, is Zartan. However, Zartan was masquerading as the president, which was played by Jonathan Pryce. So you never really got to see Zartan a whole lot.
Yeah,
in his normal form.
Outside of just obvious issues with the story, is it's trying to be a sequel to the failed movie and capture that audience while also trying to bring in the G.I. Joe fans it lost with the first one, and it fails to do both. It's like a hodgepodge, and I mean, Duke is such an important character in G.I. Joe. I mean, they killed him off, like he's gone.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Snake Eyes is not really in the whole movie a lot. He has, honestly, probably the best scene in the entire movie. And then he's not really in the movie a whole lot. And then it always kind of freaked me out because he's just kind of like walking around like Bruce Willis's house and stuff. And I'm like, it's like when you see Batman in broad daylight, and it's just like, it feels a little weird. Like, I don't know.
The house scene with General Colton, because that's Bruce Willis plays. It was in the comic book too, that they had, you found out that there was an actual Joe that they were named after, and that was Joe Colton, and he was a former general. And so they're walking around Bruce Willis's house, and it's kind of like what you typical a single retiree guy be in. And then he starts opening everything, and everything is a gun storage. And I'm like, is this house even livable? Because like when you open up the cabinets, they were only like 4 inches deep. Who is that going to fool?
Yeah.
They're not going to take your guns away, folks. They're not going to take your guns away. Not going to do it.
A lot of the scenes just feel tacked on. You could tell because it only has certain characters in it, and then there's like a random green screen in the background, so it just feels like it was just added on.
Oh, the tank that Joe Colton built in his garage that he gave Roadblock, and it was like a lawnmower. It was like zero turn lawnmower with 2 rocket launchers on it, and Roadblock took on like it was indestructible. He took on like a dozen his tanks in it.
It was indestructible. A thing like was just getting smashed and nothing happened to it. Yeah,
and you could tell when Roadblock was in it, like even the glass was made out of like plexiglass or something. I'm like,
no good. It's no good.
All right, well, let's get to the verdict as usual. Lost and found. Lost, don't even bother seeing it. Found, try to go find it on the streaming service, wherever it may be. Where are we putting it?
If you use a visual shot of Roadblock shooting a gun in the air, I'm pulling that movie in the air so he can shoot it.
Yeah, this is a perfect. Just go find clips of this movie on YouTube. The Snake Eye scene against Storm Shadow is probably the best scene in the movie. True. It's like 10 minutes. Just go watch it on YouTube.
So, just to give you, if you're thinking about, well, maybe I'll still go watch it because I'm interested. The director of this film was not the director for the first film.
Right.
The director of this film, his previous wins was Step Up 2 and Step Up 3D.
Yeah.
Nobody battles the samurai just once.
And the Oscar goes to...
Yeah, Steven Sommers did the first one. He did The Mummy, a couple other things that people may know. And he didn't return for this one, so Jon Chu did this one, and his background is like dance videos and stuff like that, and clearly not an action movie guy, and just a lot of the action scenes just fall very, very flat. The movie's not really terrible to look at. There's some decent shots and stuff, and there's a lot of the Transformers Michael Bay colors of the blues and stuff like that, but it just does not have any lasting impact. Like, I was like, we need to record this sooner than later because I'm gonna start forgetting stuff.
We talked about it before taping, was that we had to delay a day, and I was already starting to forget stuff, so I screened through Synopsis again and completely forgot about the high wire act of kidnapping Storm Shadow.
Yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. Really? But as usual, let us know what you guys thought about this one. Did you guys watch it? Did you see it in theaters? Did you not like it? Were we too harsh? Let us know. And be sure to leave us suggestions. It always helps. There's a gazillion movies, and we always try to keep up. So just let us know, and we'll see you guys on the next one.